to explore a very interesting topic, blockchain versus the world. Is social media ban a good thing for the industry? And I'd like to introduce our moderator, Igor Belkin, editor-in-chief at Cointelegraph. He's in charge of leading the editorial team. And for those of you who don't know Cointelegraph, it is actually one of the major publications covering digital currency, blockchain, decentralized applications, the Internet of Finance, and the next generation web. So welcome, Igor.
Hey, hello and welcome to another Growing Down. There's not too many of you here. Oh, people are coming in. Come right in, guys. And a round of applause for our experts, please. Set, because I think there should be someone else here. Someone else we invited. Let's, where is he? Facebook? Guys, what's going on? We should have another person here.
I think he's in the European Parliament, perhaps, giving a testimony.
Alright, so apparently Facebook and Twitter guys were not too eager to talk to us, so you have what you have. So today we're going to discuss I'm going to sit back down, walk around all the time. So today we're going to discuss the blockchain versus the world situation. So what do we have here? We have mainstream media that keep publishing stuff like bubbles about to burst. Bitcoin is dead. We've buried Bitcoin how many times this year? 20? 30? Then we have Twitter, Facebook, Bing, and God knows what else who are banning crypto. Oh yeah, MailChimp as well. Fun fact, so Cointelegraph, it was mentioned before, like in major publications for crypto and blockchain, we actually got banned from promoting our posts on Facebook. We got our promo cabinet killed on Twitter, and we almost got banned by MailChimp. Isn't that great? Nobody's impressed. Look at that. Oh my god, I love you guys. Such a great audience. So, and we invited all those wonderful people. Hello. Say hi. Wave your hands.
Hi, Igor.
Yeah, to try to figure out what are we going to do about this. So, there's going to be like 3 to 4 questions because I'm really lazy and I want to save you guys a lot of time. There's so much coffee to have outside. What are we going to do about this? So, do you guys think this campaign or this ban in particular is justified? Let's go from right to left.
Hey guys, my name's Ameer, co-founder of Blockgeeks. We train blockchain engineers. I'll put it this way, this is nothing new. So my background is growth hacking. I've been building online businesses for the last decade or so. And if you guys remember, there's a big surge of affiliate marketing when it came to the green bean extracts with Dr. Oz. I think it was about 7-8 years ago. Facebook, Twitter, well, they did the same thing. It's nothing new, right? They banned the keywords, green bean extract, lose weight, etc. And so remember, like, you as marketers or you as companies marketing whatever you need to market, at the end of the day, that's what marketing is about, is being agile, right? So, yeah, companies will stop you from using their platform.
Oh, wait a second, let me interrupt you. So they ban keywords, why? Why exactly do they do that?
There's a lot of scammers coming out there. So, for example, in the green bean extract one, there's a lot of people selling fake green bean extracts. And so basically what people are complaining about, fake products, people complaining about getting scammed out of their money, products not being delivered, and just like exorbitant amount of people doing it in one short period of time. It'd be a different story if, let's say, this happened over like a 2-year period, this product slowly came out, but like imagine 3 months, like every single product you've seen online was that. And so people got bombarded with it. Same thing with the ICO craze in 2017. Is like, you go on Facebook, ICO, make money. This is like 1,000,000 times worse because people are losing money, right? And so basically you as a marketer, it's up to you to figure out, okay, what do you do as a business? And if you as a business have to rely on Facebook, and you have to rely on any platform, and I've seen personally businesses fail overnight that they put all their weight on having a Facebook page or put their weight on having a Google page, which obviously Google Plus doesn't really exist anymore.
Two people who use Google Plus.
Yeah, you see,
couldn't work for Google.
So if your business is reliant on a platform, you're screwed. And so the question you got to ask yourself is like, how do I become anti-fragile? How do I create a business that I'm not reliant on a MailChimp, that I'm not just reliant on Facebook ads, that I'm not just reliant on Twitter ads or Google ads? How do I actually create multiple streams of distribution for my product or service?
We talk about it later, how do we fight this, but is it justified, yes or no?
Yes, it's a private company. They can do whatever they want.
You see?
If you guys own a private company, let's all talk about like freedom of speech and freedom of rights as a private individual, private company. If you have a private company, you can do whatever you want. People voluntarily sign up to your company. When you use Google, you're voluntarily saying, yes, Google, you can have my data, you can do whatever you want. I find it hilarious when people complain about Facebook data. You agreed to go on Facebook.
No, I completely disagree. I disagree with that point. Because when you are a Facebook, when you are a Google, you have a responsibility in a much, much bigger picture. The only reason Facebook took this initiative and the price dropped that day, we were at, I think in Singapore, talking 2049, that's where we were. Because they don't want to be penalized by the regulators. They don't want it to promote this agenda that yes, that somehow tomorrow Mark Zuckerberg is sitting in a situation where he's saying that, you know what, you guys actually have the responsibility to stop this and you haven't done that. Yes, if I'm running a small company, XYZ, I would concur with you, then that's fine. It is my company. Don't mess with me. Whatever I want, I'll do it. But when I'm sitting in a position where I can dictate, it is my duty towards my fellow citizens and in holding that position that I am holding or I'm putting procedures in place which are not gonna destroy the entire market.
So now you are arguing that Facebook and Google are basically utility companies. They have moved away from being private provider of services, but like we need running water, we need electricity. Facebook now, for creating social environments, has a social responsibility for the whole ecosystem?
I would completely agree because, hence, look where these guys are speaking. Look who is holding them for doing data. You know what the data rush happened? What happened then? They have to come to the UK, to the parliament, to answer those questions, but he didn't. They have responsibility. They are more than just a companies.
And do you guys fully realize the nature of this ban, how this works?
I think we also have to...
Let me tell you like a little story, right? So, you're right that a lot of ICOs and basically scammers, they really hurt our industry. They made us all look bad. Can't argue with that, right? On the other hand, we cannot judge all the industry by a handful of scammers because no, not everything that has word blockchain in it is a scam. But if you ever try to apply for a promo on Facebook, go through a certain procedure of moderation, and it gets really surreal sometimes. So, like I said, Cointelegraph, we don't sell anything. We don't have Cointelegraph tokens. Wait, hold up a second. We don't have Cointelegraph tokens, thank God. What we have is our content, that's all, right? We have ads on our website, we have sponsored stories, so that's pretty much everybody in the world. We mark them as sponsored, so we're not lying to anyone, we're not selling anything. But when we try to promote a story, say we try to write a piece about this panel, right? A bunch of guys got here together, decided to talk about blockchain, crypto, etc. We have it declined, because why? Because we discussed a bad topic. It has blockchain in it. And no matter how much scammers are out there, this should not be approached this way, just because it has word blockchain. It's just stupid.
So I understand where you're coming from. For example, we train developers. I'm an education company. We have nothing to do with tokens and ICOs. We train developers, and we can't use keywords such as blockchain or anything related to those terms on Facebook and Twitter. I think it's great that this is happening for two reasons. You got to look at everything from like a positive lens. Like, A, this is a great test for you as a company. If you're so reliant on one platform to grow your business, that's a huge problem. And number two, it's a great test to actually expand your capabilities of...
You do this, if Facebook has 2 billion users, and Google is pretty much everything.
I don't think we're talking about business here relying on Facebook. The point is why we are banned, right? I believe that Facebook and Ubers are the world are dead. Because we make Facebook what it is. And with the community around blockchain, you see how many people are in this room? Eventually, Facebook is going to be dead if they don't decentralize. That's the whole beauty of blockchain. 5 years, 10 years from now, there would not be any Facebook because we would in a totally decentralized world. That's the vision and that's the goal why we're all here. And that's what we're trying to do, and that's what blockchain enables us. So, I mean, Mark Zuckerberg and the Googles and the Twitters of the world, they're not stupid guys. They didn't get there by being stupid. So obviously they also know what they're doing, and we got to give them credit for what they're doing. It's a recent ban, and what we need to understand here is that if you look at the regulatory bodies, they're also acting in a similar manner, where they're banning some stuff, but they're trying to understand. Because for them also this is pretty new. So trying to understand how the market reacts to a ban, and then try to make something that works for everybody. We need to give them some time. So for Google, for example, you can still advertise with them. I'm a crypto investment bank. You can still advertise with Google if you come to them and verify that you are a legit company that's doing a legit product that has already X amount of users. They will happily let you advertise, and they still let you do it. It's not like you can't advertise on Facebook Google completely. It's just that it's off for the first step, and then if you try and talk to them, they will let you advertise. And we do it every day for some of the ICOs that we've invested in.
I think it's a totally defensive move from Facebook and Google. I don't really agree to this story that they're forcefully trying to kill the entire industry, really. I think they just don't know what it means for them to have these kinds of advertisement. Because when you see security tokens, and many ICOs are securities, although they're trying to be utilities, it's kind of a disguised security. And when regulators really step in and really start to take action, I think Facebook is just thinking, we cannot know what kind of advertisements are running, so we're just banning everything. Just like Ameer, we also have an online academy, 10,000 students learning about coding on blockchain, learning about basics of blockchain. We cannot advertise our academy. It's simply forbidden. But there are ways around it. I mean, people use special keywords. You can certainly circumvent it. And in the future, I think that it will be allowed. And that their AI algorithm for verifying ads will improve and it will sort itself. But currently, I think it's just defensive. We don't know what is going on our platform, so they just ban everything.
I think, does it really matter? Does it? Because CNBC, Bloomberg, Reuters, like I'm a regular guest with them, we discuss cryptos all the time on a weekly basis. Forbes, where I'm working as a columnist, we have a special section on cryptos. We're writing about it, we're educating, we're still going, the mainstream media is sporting. And as I was saying to you guys yesterday, look, Facebook, yeah, the ban is there. How long the ban would be there for? Maybe for a few months to a year, that's it, then they will open that ban up. What is the impact on the industry? I don't see an enormous amount of impact. The only impact that I see is more on the positive side, because all the scam projects can no longer go there. If you are not regulated, if you do, oh well, in case of ICO, nothing is right currently, but yeah. But if for all those fake projects, they can't advertise it, that's good, because that's more money for the real projects. That's more money for the VCs who actually want to support those projects.
So you're making a case for good journalism. I mean, as an investor, we're getting tons of proposals all the time. You said 90%. Said if you can put a website up for $50, $50 gets you a white paper, and in 30 minutes you have mined 1 million coins. That stuff is what's happening all the time, right? And figuring out what's the right approach. We do investments for 10 plus years. Figuring out what are the right things, we need good filtering, that's for sure. But is Facebook the right company or Google the right company to do that? Probably not. I mean, we work with governments and trying to figure out how we get transparency, accountability on a global scale. And figuring out who are the right partners, the right technologies to drive this forward is really critical. And we need partners to help us filtering the right part out of it. But having said that, I think Google, Facebook filtering is probably not a right approach. They haven't shown that they can do it on the political side. I mean, we're in a big mess worldwide based on what happened over there. They haven't shown up their responsibility right now. They're trying it with the blockchain space. It's probably not the best place.
I disagree. I'm going to play the opposite side of the equation, and then I will say that they are taking the right approach, because having they have done this, we know how the price will fluctuate.
Who do you think should be the one filtering? You said they're not the right person. Who do you think it should be?
Well, free markets, good journalism. What do journalists actually supposed to do? Really figuring out what's going on, not just promoting the latest ICO because they get a couple of tokens, but really figuring out what's going on. Reading the white papers. Most of the white papers, top 100, are
People actually understand white paper.
Do you think it's the journalists are not also taking money? We've seen a lot of journalists reach out to us actually and say, hey, I'll write about you. People start blogs these days, plus $50 again, by a team, and then you can say, I have a blog, nobody knows how many hits they get. You can buy on Fiverr.com 10,000 hits and say, promote this ICO for $100.
Does that promote your ICO?
Yes, but the idea is, it does to an extent, yes.
Brings them. Look, for Forbes is not an entity. If you guys pay Forbes to write for you, let me know.
So what about TechCrunch?
About TechCrunch. Hi everyone, my name is Samantha Stein. I'm with TechCrunch. Yesterday we heard a presentation from my colleague about, will disinformation kill crypto? And I think that's the larger discussion here is, there are scams out there, and what we're seeing as the ban is certain companies stepping up and saying, it's too hard for us to tell what's legit and what isn't, and so therefore, until we can, we have to ban everything. Whether that's the right move or not aside, I think everyone in this room can be empowered to say, we're excited about this technology, we have a vested interest in advancing it, so how can we best tell that story so people understand it? And not just from the 10K foot view of, we're going to decentralize everything and we're going to have interplanetary peace and immense value creation, because a lot of these discussions are part of the problem. Instead, we need to come down to earth and say, here's the concrete ways we can already see that this technology is doing tremendous things that can both create concrete value and even greater social equity. So some great examples in ways in which that can be done are through credible journalism, but also through entrepreneurs taking the time to really figure out their messaging, how they connect to the right journalists. For TechCrunch, it's just tips@techcrunch.com. For other publications, you can often search online to just figure out where you can send your story. You can build relationships with journalists. But what's really important is to talk about the concrete ways and make sure everyone who's part of the equation here tells those stories. So, for example, supply chain. We already see companies like TradeShift doing pilots that have traction. We can see how people are working on important things like land trusts. We need to continue to tell those stories and not just
They don't have a token.
CEOs.
Legitimate blockchain technology uses.
I think also something that's good come out of this that I believe is really good is that we are now depending a lot on crypto influencers to tell us. Now because you cannot advertise on Facebook and Google directly, as most people can, we're getting influencers like Ivan here, who I really believe is doing a great job for the community by educating people in the right way. But
I disagree with you here, because you guys are telling really right and great things, like quality journalism, education, etc. And we have influencers like Ivan. I love you, man. Please watch every video. Subscribe to my channel. I have like 2,000 viewers and I never post anything, but we should be friends. But seriously. On Facebook, I'm going to promote Facebook by slamming Facebook. It's going to be interesting. So, 2 billion users, right? So everybody here has Facebook. If a person I contact doesn't have Facebook, he looks suspicious. Are you a criminal? Did you just, what's going on? Are you hiding from the FBI? So everybody has Facebook. It's like your digital passport, right? And Facebook works this way. If you want to be seen, if you want your content to be seen, say you have a page with 500,000 subscribers, right? If you want them to see your content, you will pay, right? So what Facebook does, it not only tries to save its audience from scammers and ICOs, it really hurts businesses, and I don't think everybody understands the extent of that damage, right? So it really hurts legitimate businesses and good journalism as well, because a lot of crypto publications get banned from promo for having blockchain in their name. It has blockchain now. It's not good, right? So we have a big machine with 2 billion users that says no to a great industry, and this industry no longer has any means to promote itself. It's invisible. It will disappear. We can have 1 million of icons, but when you have to fight this big corporate machine named Facebook that pretty much owns each and every person in this room. They have our data. They tell us what we watch. They tell us what we see. No matter what page you like, it's up to Facebook to decide what you see. And promo is our only means to let us be seen right now. It is broken, but it works like that.
I disagree with you there, actually, because I think, going back to the point of good journalism, sure, you can pay to run ads on a network if you think that's the best way to reach your customers. But if you're building a legitimate product that people want, and you know your product market fit, and you want to educate people about that, having quality journalists tell your story and then having that show up in your Facebook feed or be sent to you by a friend, or seeing it when you're, whatever, at the hairdresser, sitting waiting to give a talk, and you see the television screen talking about all these things happening in the industry, I think that reach is much greater. And I mean, you could even quantify that by just saying, when people are putting ads on Facebook and then they're segmenting for their market and their reach, like, they will not be able to reach the same amount of people as large mainstream media outlets.
I think they will be able to target different audiences, the audiences they need. And actually, Facebook ban is good for us, because you cannot promote your product on Facebook, come to us. But this is bad because, say, I'm building my wonderful product in my basement. I don't know any of you guys. No journalists, no nothing. I don't have enough money to go to BlockShow because I need tickets, I need hotels, I need to purchase, I need to pay admission fee, right? Which is kind of,
Facebook will not survive, right? I mean, Facebook started in the garage, right? There was MySpace before that. I mean, I'm 23, I don't use Facebook anymore, to be honest with you. I believe that we're seeing a future where Facebook will not survive if they are not doing the right thing. And if the community makes Facebook, and if the community is not there, and the community is here, then Facebook will not survive. That's how it is. And you can't, yes, it's a beer mod, but there was the
target audience.
Yes.
Not the target audience. We know everything. When I need Facebook promos, I actually use AdBlock to save myself from this.
Yes, exactly. But eventually, the target audience will also tell their friends. And they will stop using Facebook too.
10 years maybe, but I want my grandchildren to see this, happen.
New industry, man. It's less than a decade old. Come on, you gotta give it time. You gotta give it time. Facebook did not become what it is overnight.
InfoWars on you, okay? What about this? So it's been maybe somewhat popular theory. Maybe Facebook is building its own blockchain platform. So it's deliberately killing everyone to roll it out and be like, look, we have a face token site.
Well, that's public knowledge. They have announced to have a blockchain practice now, that's for sure. But I think what Ameer is saying, and Samantha is saying, it is about trusted people you follow. I don't care if I'm getting advertisement on Facebook. I have 500 people on a WeChat group that are discussing what's the right thing. There are knowledgeable people. There are good discussions happening there. Those are the folks you trust. You find real influencers that do the hard work, that understand the white paper, go out in the environment, building communities, adding value to the community, and that's how you get visibility.
What about the awareness?
Okay.
What about the awareness? You cannot get awareness if you're not working with the largest platforms.
What kind of awareness do you need? I mean, do you want to promote Johnson & Johnson shares to all the retail investors? I mean, most people. So, what are you trying to do? Try and get somebody for your token, or do you trying to actually get a product out there that has value, reaching end users? They don't really care if it's blockchain powered, or internet powered, or electricity powered. They care what's the value for them, the product and the service for them.
Okay.
It's a question of time. As we have more time, we will see the industry expanding. Look what's happened, right? This did not happen overnight. And as we see more and more people coming in, time will solve all these problems by itself. That's what I believe. And I agree with the influencers. I also say there are some bad influencers who shit coins, but time solves that too. You saw all the influencers who promoted BitConnect. Where are they now? I mean, time will solve these problems. Any influencer, over time, if you show something wrong, the community is going to come back to him and tell him, you're a scammer. So eventually, these problems go away one by one.
So we should just sit it out? You know?
No, people are working on it. There's smart people here trying to solve these problems one by one. That's why we're here to discuss it.
It's all about building building own platforms. This is something we touched upon a bit before. It's all about, I think the world is shifting a bit from big publications to building own platforms. Yes, Facebook is banning. We still have our own platform. Our academy is still alive. Yes, we cannot advertise on Facebook, which hurts a lot, us, but also the people, because now it's harder to spread the knowledge. And as you said, it is, if you are in a basement, you have your academy, it's very hard to get the word out. But it's all about day after day doing YouTube, doing social media, doing Steemit. I mean, if you don't want to use Facebook, there is Steemit. Yes, the reach is smaller, but the world is shifting there. You see major influencers that are not in cryptocurrency actually use Steemit nowadays, because you realize you actually get paid for each and every like. So in that sense, I don't really agree that you should have quality journalism in the form factor of a trusted publication. The world has changed. I don't think that is the way you do nowadays. It's more about trust, personal connection, and building own platforms so that you're not dependent on, for example, journalist contacts. You're not dependent on Facebook. You're not dependent on Mailchimp, and you are platform agnostic. That is the way forward, I think.
I don't care whether you guys publish on Forbes or not. We have no issue with that. But let me tell you something. Who to follow on Facebook, on YouTube? Who would you follow? How do you get the right information from YouTube? And until, I won't be... Is it worth to ask a question when there would be a ban on YouTube for these kind of scammers as well? I'm just like there are so many people out there. Right now, there are more people selling the shovels than the actual gold. Any person that you meet in the industry, what do? I'm an advisor. Get the hell out of it. But what do? Oh, I run a syndicate. What? Yeah, I run a syndicate. What's the structure? Just a couple of people. Okay. So, I think going with the tier 1 media, such as CNBC, Web, or Bloomberg, or all these, many of them, we have a reputation or stuff. You have experts coming there, debating the projects, playing the devil's advocate of everything, and that creates the value for it. You don't need an advertisement. Right now, I sit with a lot of VCs, and I'll be speaking in the European Parliament on the 6th of June about the adoption of the blockchain technology. It's about education. Yes, YouTube is doing an incredible job, along with other media, as you've mentioned, that some journalists would take money, but if they take money, that's okay for them to spend the time what they are doing that. Are they producing the right content? Is it the content is about, because a lot of people cannot understand what the white paper is about, right?
It's the problem with the space right now. People are raising ridiculous amounts of money on these ridiculous, stupid ICOs. At the end of the day, we're literally 4 or 5 years away from actually building our platforms. I find it hilarious when people are talking about, well, I need to really understand. You don't understand. I have a semi-background in development myself. I don't understand half the fucking white papers I read, and I'm a technologist. Understanding the cryptography, the engineering aspects of it, the architectural design, the syntax layers of it. And so to put this on the shoulders of regular public and regular people to understand is obscene, absolutely obscene.
I actually found myself as an advisor for a couple of ICOs. I was like, wow, when did I manage to do that?
So we're not at the stage yet for journalists to be going in well, I'm going to take a dive on this white paper. I can probably count on my fingers how many people I trust on this planet that I will actually take their word for what's going on in the space when it comes from a technological point of view. On my fingers.
I disagree. I think that there are plenty of journalists out there who have technical backgrounds and have expert networks where they can find sources to give them information and to say, explain to me, what does this mean? What's the difference between, a zero-knowledge proof blockchain or a permissionless blockchain? What do these different things mean? And learn that. And I think it's also their responsibility to educate the public and to work with their network of experts to do that. And if they're not doing it enough, everyone in this room who wants that information should ask for it. And I also think that
That information doesn't sell, that's the problem.
I think also I have to disagree with you because who is going to then talk about it, right? You can't expect the technologists to write a story because that's what they're not good at.
Sure.
The tech guys are not going to share.
What he is saying is that putting that information in a way which is digestible, that I can sink my teeth and I can understand what the hell is he talking about. Like, I come from investment banking background as a hedge fund trader. How many people can actually go and say retail traders ain't got a chance to win professional traders? That's just the truth. They don't have discipline, right? That's just the general, because there's no discipline. But when it comes to white paper, I think what you are trying to say is that, yeah, white papers are like, it's a very technical paper. You can't understand it. But if you can break it down in a way that it is easily digestible for the reader, then it is good. And in all honesty, if you speak to any VCs and you want to raise funds, all what they are interested in protocol and blockchain, dApps, no one cares about it.
You need to have the right message and the right messenger for the audience. Yes, if I want to know about a white paper, I need to have a technical discussion in detail. But if I want to try to explain government leaders what the blockchain potential is, and I have 80-plus-year-old Imai son, the former chairman of Sony, on stage and explain to them it's important, these are the key things that are changing, they don't care what's in the white paper, but they want to understand the potential blockchain technology can bring to their societies. So you need to have the right message, the right messenger.
Yeah, we're also at a really interesting time. There's something we haven't touched on, which is that historically we've told the story of products which have at minimum a prototype, right? Like, it was very rare for journalists to just cover like, this person has this idea, right? Because no one wants to read about like, oh, this person has this idea, this thing may or may not happen. But right now, with many, many ICOs, people are raising funds, and not small amount of funds, the equivalent of what many entrepreneurs would describe as like their seed A and B, maybe even more rolled into one. I think that will change, but right now that's what we've seen. And they're raising money based on an idea. And so how do you tell the story of an idea? And how do you tell that story with credibility when there's a lot of uncertainty if that can come to fruition? I mean, a lot of you have probably seen there's a great cartoon that's like white paper, like prototype, like final product, and it's like a beautiful
Donkey?
Yeah, it's like a beautiful donkey at the beginning, and then it becomes more and more of like an odd cartoon, and it's like the vision you bought into originally has just totally shifted. And it's okay. Good entrepreneurs always need to improvise and reiterate as they're finding their product market fit. But telling the story of an idea, I think instead of people focusing so much right now, and I have to have everyone understand what my vision is, you need to understand concretely what you're trying to build, and you need to build it. And then focus on, how do I make sure that I can tell the whole planet what it is.
But no one wants to take that approach. I mentioned in the panel yesterday, there's a model called the DICO, right? Or interactive coin offering. I'm short-term, very against ICOs. Long-term, I think ICOs have a tremendous role. Once technologies actually evolve, we have years and years to go for the protocol layers to actually work and scale. Now, that being said, I've mentioned this many times to entrepreneurs who want to build on this platform and create dApps. It's like, okay, you have this idea. I'm not even going to bother reading your paper, but let me put it out for you. You don't need $5 million. I've started many businesses. I've never raised 10, 20. I don't need it. I'm like, do this interactive coin offering. Say, hey, I'm going to raise $1 million. I'm going to be allocated $500,000 at the beginning to prove my product that you said. Guess what? All these guys come back with. They don't do it. They just want the money.
The money. See, like I said, the industry is changing. We went from utility security tokens, and now we're going to people who are doing ICOs. Legend companies with millions of users talking about doing ICOs. And that's how the industry is moving. And eventually we'll also see smaller ICOs, and we're already seeing Rightly actually suggested a model where you take some funds up, you deliver, then you get access to other funds.
Seed, Series A, Series B, Series C.
You gotta give it time, guys. I mean, the VC industry is years and years old. This is a new industry.
That is completely natural for new industries.
Exactly, and
the industry is overpromised. We have so much to deliver and so much that we have promised. But that is exactly what happened to the internet when that was new. The internet did change the world. It was a lot of promises in the beginning. It crashed.
Exactly.
The same was with the trains. When trains were a new technology 200 years ago, in 1 year there were over 200 train companies registered in the UK. Did you know that? So everyone was very hyped, and trains will change travel, trains will change production, all of these industries will be changed. And yes, trains did change the world, but we overhyped it. And it is just in human nature to be greedy and to hype a technology too much in the beginning. But as trains did change the world, in transition the world, blockchain will change the world, and we are currently in this wild, wild west territory, which is for me completely natural. And it is all about an ideological difference that we're discussing here.
But mate, about hype sells. Hype absolutely sells, whether you believe it or not. Look at the projects, certain projects in the industry.
That's true, man, but you also have to give credit to the process. Everybody who tells me they don't believe in ICOs, I tell you don't know what you're talking about. I'm an investor in over 100 companies before the age of blockchain and ICOs. And I believe ICOs are going to kill the VC industry because it's giving power back to the people. We're not going to see any more unicorns. So everybody would raise money from the community. It's about aligning incentives.
5.2 billion, 2-point-something billion was raised by VC funds.
Yes, but you have to remember, as I said, it's going to take time.
This year alone, in the absence of Facebook, Google, the people who've been most active, these are your VC funds.
I'm an investor also, and I believe that that's wrong. You need time, because time will fix that. And remember, ICOs are aligning incentives. That's what matters at the end of the day. If your user, the product, and the customer have the same end goal, if I'm a user of the product and I have some incentive to use the product, why will I not use it? Before I had no incentive, I don't get anything from Facebook to use Facebook. Tomorrow,
assuming money solves problems. Money does not solve problems.
At least the greed is there in everybody. So when it aligns incentives, when the company and the customer have the same end goal and the same result.
The adoption stage, like we discussed last time, I think it was, where was it, Monaco, right? Gojek, a great example. I don't know how many people got exposed to it. They've introduced their wallet. Now everyone wants to use the coin. That's the adoption, integration, penetration. But how did that happen? Who was behind Gojek? It's your VCs.
Right now, yes, man, but you gotta give time to the people.
Hold up a second, guys. So you mean to say that we don't need Facebook at all? Like, whatever? We should just ignore this whole ecosystem that's been...
Crush all of us. Like, what? Look, Mark Zuckerberg's a smart motherfucker, man. I give him all the credit in the world.
I thought the only F word on the stage will be Facebook, but fuck that.
No, but think about it. Let's say it's all about survival of the most adaptable. Like, they're not dumb, but like, listen, they have shareholders they have to please. And if somehow through their research they come to a notion, they have the network effect, as you mentioned, 2 billion plus users, all about network. You can have... None of these tokens have network effect. None of them. It's ridiculous. Facebook's like, okay, we figured out a way that it makes sense for the token. We will interject it. All these other platforms, these ICOs and apps, they're done. They have 2 billion human beings that have some cost bias incentives within Facebook that they release within their network.
And you gotta look at where Facebook was and where we are now. Facebook did not get there, stop with 2 billion users, right? I'm an entrepreneur. I've built companies, and I also believe there's some guy working in his basement right now who can one day build and compete with Facebook.
But they're
I think you're right. You get the network effect right. I mean, if you're looking across the Pacific, look at China. China was a cash-based society until WeChat and Alibaba introduced WeChat Pay and Alipay. Within one cycle of the Lunar New Year celebration and the red envelope, where you had a viral creation of sharing digital money, the whole society turned from a cash society and a mobile payment society. So it's having the right usage, the right environment, and the right network effect that is changing the world. And what we've learned from history is, if you look at the innovator's dilemma, yes, existing companies have a hard time to reinventing. Yes, Facebook is trying to do it, but you know what?
Necessity is the mother of invention, man.
Around 10 years from now, at least not in the capability they are today.
So we're good, basically? All good?
Yeah, I think we're good.
Who cared? Yeah, wonderful. So, okay.
We can also do a lot to demystify the industry, right? Like, if we want to do it justice, if we want to advance this technology, we need to build credible projects rather than just trying to promote them. We need to, in fact, not use a vernacular that's like one step removed from what people are used to, right? Like projects versus business. Are your grandparents confused, right? Are they like, is this a school project or is this a legitimate...
There's no actual business yet in any of these ICOs. That's the problem.
Round of applause. This is great. Thank you.
But there's no business. I haven't seen an ICO that actually has a sustainable supply and demand business model. Their model is greater fool theory. You need more people to buy in. It's literally a Ponzi pyramid scheme. I haven't seen one that actually shows me a real, tangible business model.
Well, I can tell you plenty, and
ICOs here.
That's a pretty
Hands
view and very generalized.
So I disagree with that.
I mean, all the entrepreneurs doing ICOs are scammers, then I'll tell you you're a scammer, man. You can't generalize people, you can't underestimate people and say that everybody's a scammer here. Yes, there are scammers. I'm saying the ones of scammers, but there's also people working hard to make life better for us.
I haven't seen one that actually has a sustainable, real business.
You have not seen enough, and probably your network is the one that's all scammers then. I'll tell you that.
I think everyone in this...
I mean, I always back the entrepreneur. And I know that there's always smart people working. I never underestimate anybody. And you give them time and they will show you results. You give them time, they will show you results. It's just a question of time.
But here is something, I mean, give them time. How much time?
You look at how much time the other industries have, right? I mean, come on. You cannot expect...
Look, I'm not going to buy... I get like 10 to 15 white papers pushed every day. If the roadmap goes beyond 2019... I press the delete button straight away. You don't have an MVP, you don't have anything, and your roadmap is stretching to 2019.
Which is the biggest ICO, at least was supposed to be the biggest ICO before they did not do it because of Telegram. How many users they have?
The Telegram built because of two reasons. So half of the sale came from private sale, your VCs, the rest came from the public. And then Telegram itself had a platform which you had a community.
It's not a scam.
It's not a scam, but...
There's a company there right now, and I can tell you more if you want. You guys can visit our website and we can list you good ICOs that are building great products, have great users, have already proven results, have delivered results. And anyways, guys, anybody who's listening here, I mean, if you want to invest in ICOs, look at the teams. History doesn't lie. Like blockchain, if some great person has delivered something great before, he can do it again.
Wait a second, I brought this up like some 10 minutes ago that I found myself on the teams of some of the ICOs. You're probably consulting dozens of them. You just don't know that.
Exactly, I totally agree. Yes, there are scams, man. I totally agree. There's a lot of scams. But I have to tell you that time removes the scammers away because history builds on it. You can't go back and change the scam you did. So if somebody did a scam, it's there. If somebody did something great in the past, it's also there. And that's why people trust them to invest in them again, because they can do something great again.
As investors, we are looking at the companies that have the potential to change the world. So there are definitely companies out there we have invested in. We are looking very positively, and I think where they will be in the next 2-3 years. They have products out there implemented in the enterprises. They're changing payment behavior in Southeast Asia with Punjik. So there are things happening all the time that are really delivering value. And I think where we are right now as an investor, you want to invest into the Amazon and the Googles in the early 90s. You do not want to invest into Pets.com. And it takes work to figure this out, to understand the markets, to understand the people, and figuring out if the advice is actually real or if somebody just puts up a website.
I mean, you're saying that all VCs are funding all ICOs, and you're saying that ICOs are all scams. Are you telling me all VCs are investing in scams? All these
VCs are not all VCs are
become so rich by being stupid.
Let me make that clear.
Become so rich by being stupid by investing in all the scams.
You are a VC fund yourself in a way, right?
I invest of my own capital.
And in all your company. But let me tell you, I'm not saying the VCs are spending, all VCs are spending in the scam companies. And he didn't mean that. I don't know this guy. I met him today, just for the record. And I'm just saying it to him that this guy just said it, that he hasn't seen one. Okay, that's okay. But doesn't mean that the VCs are spending in that space. VCs are people who are an incredible amount of a team. You have a team? I hope so. If you have a team, I hope they got some knowledge to pick up the projects. That's the only way you get a success.
100%, man.
To run at anything, that got to be there. Don't say
I'm a seed investor. When VCs invest in the companies I invest, I make a great return. That's there. I totally agree with you. That's why I'm a seed investor. VCs invest later, I make a great return. But the ICO process, I believe, is going to finish the VC process. Because companies will go to the public and take their money and align incentives with them.
VCs are there to make connections for you. VCs are there to flush you for money. VCs are there to integrate, to bring the right team for you. This is the purpose of a VC. That's it.
Let's draw a line here because we can have a fist fight later. So we have like an agreement here that we don't need Facebook. We're good. Not all of the ICOs are scams. Just say yes. Yes. And we have some 10 minutes to go. Oh, how many people are here? Nothing interesting. Move along. So what can be done like I said, screw Facebook, we got past that. So what can be done to make us look better, the whole industry? Because I think in 10 years, kids who work for blockchain startups will have to lie to their parents. What do you do for a living? I sell drugs. So how to make our industry look better? How to make all this like public perception of everything crypto or blockchain related?
Igor, I'll tell you. Work with the framework of regulatory framework, right? The sandboxes with the regulators, right? Appreciate that framework. A lot of projects are already working on it, right? Build the community. Be careful of all the advertisement which goes on, but yeah, at the end of the day, whether it is a rating agency, an ICO rating agency, whatever it is, the fact of the matter is that it is bringing traffic back to your website. There is no denial on it if it is. Whether you pay it or whether you don't, but that is a fact. And that's a wrong thing. I think that should be completely eliminated. But if you are looking at the Telegram community, there are lots of bots. You can buy the Telegram community by using airdrops. Facebook banned, airdrops banned. YouTubers have banned and all of that. No disrespect to anyone, but I'm just saying that a lot of people have started educating in a lot of different places. So just go to events like these, go to meetups, build your community, integrate with the people who have knowledge with, and then you will find a connection who will take your project to the next stage.
But you're addressing the audience that's here already.
Well, you have a camera and a YouTube running straight, right?
Yeah, but it's being, like streamed on Cointelegraph.
Well, you got a huge traffic on Cointelegraph.
Huge traffic, but those people are mostly into crypto. And I'm talking about breaking this wall between us and them. And that's the trickiest part, because the general audience thinks that...
No, general audience doesn't care what the blockchain platform is. At the end of the day, they're going to be using...
Wait a second, they read all those newspapers that keep saying that it's a bubble, it's a scam. And somewhere deep in their heads, they know it, that this is all, a farce.
Except the fact that it only grows. We see more and more activity in blockchain and cryptocurrencies, and sooner or later these publications lose trust. Why should you trust anyone who has called scams since 2011 and is still growing and still developing?
They'll have Brexit and Trump, duh!
And this is all about trust. This is what I'm and this is all about responsibility and ideological differences also. The ICO movement is all about individuals investing, and it's of course more responsibility to the individuals, but also more freedom and more possibilities. So I'm a believer in free market. I think the industry will develop to a point where people, everyday people who are not in the space currently, will just see great products. Currently, yes, many scams. Currently, yes, a lot of hype, but I agree with you a lot. The fact that we have power back to the people, we have people all over the world, in Africa and Indonesia, people where banks are not even around. You see people investing, being able to make their own decisions. That is what is very important for me, to really empower people all over the globe to make decisions. And yes, some regulatory framework is needed to make it more legit, so that people actually take more action. Too much regulatory framework will kill it. You can't kill the industry in your country, but it will just move somewhere else. And so in that sense, I would say time, number one. I believe in the free market. I believe that it will solve itself, that we might see a crash, but in that, great products will come and the value will show for itself.
Well, I have to ask you, journalists. I mean, blockchain, what is it about? It's about trust, it's accountability, transparency, accountability in an environment. Those are all good things. Why don't you write more about that? I do
this all the time, literally. I get paid for this.
One more ask, right? How do you solve this problem? It's you guys here. If all of you today, who's thanks to the Cointelegraph team has brought all great people here, if all of you who has the right information now, goes and talks to two of your friends who are not into this space and tells them the right information, that's how you solve this problem. Crypto and blockchain is about community, and if the community is doing the right thing, the problem will go away. We don't need Facebook.
And it's easy to underestimate that. It's easy to say that, just because we're not allowed on Facebook, we're not allowed on Google, it will not work out. But the community works exponentially. And soon enough, you have this exponential growth that is mind-blowing. Currently, the growth might look very slow. but it's picking up speed, and the speed itself is growing exponentially as well. So I definitely agree with the community and the fact that you will see this huge growth and spread of information that currently might be hard to imagine, but just like with any great technology, it will take off and the speed will be incredible.
What do you think? Does this only apply to like journalists or bloggers, or companies should turn towards communities as well? Maybe
Companies should put their head down and build real products and ship. That's it. Ship your product, get product market fit, and actually make a real sustainable business.
But cryptocurrency business is all about community. I mean, you cannot have a crypto network, you cannot have incentive structure.
I can name you a shit ton of communities without zero product.
Yeah, but it needs to be both. It needs to be a product and community.
Product first and community second.
But without the community, it's hard to boot.
Community. Product builds community.
You're just buying that community. The communities today are just looking for arbitrage and speculation on prices. They're jumping around from this to this. They don't care about, because there's no tangible product. There's no sunk cost bias for them, right? It goes back to human psychological tendency, the 21 cognitive biases. At the end of the day, they're just going around where they can make most of the dollars. But if you have a tangible product that they're using it every single day, that they're sucked up into, that it's adding value for their life, that's where you get that stickiness.
They do, man. They let you use the product and also at the same time have an interest in the product if the product grows. I mean, we just talked about Steemit, right? That's a great example. So
we'll hear also that yes, currently it is the case, but those investors will get burned. If you just jump around, try to invest, try to buy something without understanding it, you will get burned. And the community as a whole, retail investors who invest in cryptocurrencies, they are maturing. The community is a lot more mature today than a year ago. So therefore, I see this optimistic improvement in the community. And talking about scams, I mean, we are in contact with many ICOs on a daily basis. There were many more scams 6 months ago as a percentage of the total amount of ICOs. Maybe the total number of ICO scams is bigger, but the percentage to total ICOs is way smaller, because it is much harder. Nowadays, you cannot really have a white paper only. You cannot really have a white paper and only Telegram. You need so much more, and in a year, I think we will see 10 times improvement in ICO space as well, because we have actually infrastructure that is improving with Ethereum improvements, with EOS and other infrastructure projects launching, and I think next year we will actually see all of this, most of the promises come to fruition. That is at least my vision and my hope for the industry. If it doesn't happen, if we can't deliver, we will see a crash. We will see a disappointment and a crash, and after that the real projects will survive, and after that the real projects will come to fruition after the crash, just like with the .com.
Hey guys, I think someone should look at airdrops, because I hate them.
You suck.
I also think we're doing a bit of an injustice focusing so much on just the financial application of the technology, right? So the question is blockchain versus the world, and we're up here talking only about ICOs and only about one financial use case. Once again, this technology has many use cases, one of which, we have to remember we're very early still. I know for everyone in this room who's been a part of it for maybe years and years, it doesn't feel that way, but for most of the world, we're very early. We don't have a network. In fact, we don't even have platforms that are able to easily connect to one another. We're still working low in the stack. We're working at the protocol level to really have a strong ecosystem and something that people can use and tangibly understand. So I think those are the things we need to talk about, right? Like the media right now is talking a lot about data sharing and data brokerage. And so what if we talked to people we knew in our networks who weren't familiar with blockchain, and we said, hey, one of the applications of this technology is how to protect and secure your identity. And won't it be really cool that actually in the future, potentially, you can do gradient data sharing, and you can monetize off of your data instead of having a middleman for that, or a data brokerage in between, and that you can decide to what degree you want to share your data and with whom. So that seems like a much more intimate and important use case maybe than even the financial use case for this discussion.
Samantha, I think there's so much good news out there. There's so many applications of the technology already in businesses. I was just 2 months ago, I think I was in Montreal for dinner with the 44 CEOs of the largest companies out of Quebec. 70% of them have blockchain projects within their company to looking at accountability, transparency within their organization. And they range from anything from logistics to fishery to harbors to financial institutions. All of them are understanding that there's something coming. They need to understand where they find the initial use scenarios, where they find the the value for the organization, but also develop the muscles in their organization to adopt the technology, to find applications and implement it. So there's a lot of good news happening outside.
Yeah, but see, that's not sexy to talk about. There's a rub.
But that's where we make money. So,
No one wants to talk about self-sovereign IDs? That's sexy? No.
I think you're right, though. There's many different applications, supply chain, identity, but people don't talk about it.
But we should. That's the problem. We need to talk about those things and educate people about those tremendous ways in which we could have improved identity.
Guys, the question wasn't, did we not start the conversation that, okay, we're going to, what's the alternative? That Facebook and Twitter as everything is banned? What should we do?
Thank you. So, how do we... Let's get back because you guys keep... I want to talk about ICOs. Education? This is
Absolutely.
super obvious.
Absolutely, Dave.
Super obvious. This is what we do like every day.
Yes.
What we're doing here, that's what we're gonna do tomorrow. That's what we're gonna do like in a week if we survive Berlin. All those parties, oh my god. But what else? What else is there? What can bloggers and journalists just do their thing? We're working our asses off every day trying to raise awareness, explain.
telling the real stories, telling about how 100,000 of refugees getting an ID because of blockchain technology. Really understanding what's happening within companies, how Maersk became, by adopting blockchain technology instead of a spreadsheet 2 years ago, became now the leader in the logistics space on blockchain adoption. Everybody else is trying to catch up with that. Those are the stories I think you guys need to
way up. It's not only up to us. Plus,
it's governments, right? Regulators, banks, and I've sat with all of them in different spaces. And I've also guest lectured at the London School of Economics. Universities are engaged in both space. Educate all that generation. The word entire is to network with the people as many as you can. That's just a simple thing. And education, educate yourself if you can. Like, I know you're going to hate me, but Coindesk published a big report, the quarterly report. How many of you actually read it? There are some really good things in there. Learn which way the industry is moving. Learn where like, okay, I wouldn't mention the name, sorry. Learn where do you need to make the next product. Don't just take a project from left and right and then just make a little tweak and then just, there you go. That's your new product. That's not what it is. It's the new adoption, it's the new technology which will help you to, like, everyone will just literally jump on it.
all right, gentlemen and lady. I'm not being sexist. Any last words? Because we have 10 seconds to go.
Yeah, just keep on building.
All of you, if you guys can go and talk to your friends who are not in the space and tell them about the space, which you have learned here, I think that's the solution for me. That over time, they will tell more people, and they will tell more people, and that's how the community grows in the right manner. And that's the biggest ask from me to you guys.
Great.
It's all about the community. It's all about the fact that we're switching to another paradigm. We shouldn't be afraid of that. It's wild, wild west currently. I'm very optimistic for the future.
It's a fantastic space. You're at the right place. Let's go and change the world.
Find the right investor.
Tell your story concretely, and then the vision.
Doing the nice.
So much. Thank you for surviving through this.